People with disabilities tell us that one of the biggest barriers they face in the world is the challenge of other people's attitudes about them, and even more so actually than architectural barriers or any of the barriers that are kind of addressed by the Americans with Disabilities Act. And the place that understanding our differences fits in is that we work right there on attitude change.
Understanding Our Differences is a nonprofit leader in disability awareness education. Originally founded in Newton, Massachusetts in 1978, when inclusion was first mandated in the schools. A group of parents of children with disabilities felt very strongly that successful inclusion required understanding, acceptance, and respect of individual differences, and that children should be taught to be allies, not bullies. By training parent volunteers to deliver the UOD program, we educated and continue to educate not just the students, but the entire community.
Really, everybody has a combination of strengths and challenges, and understanding our differences allows these open conversations to take place. Each of the disabilities and chronic medical conditions that we teach about is encompassed in about a 2-hour presentation typically. The 2 hours would be an introductory video or a PowerPoint presentation to give what's known about that disability. Then we have hands-on activities where kids rotate through stations. And the idea behind that is for kids to learn about the techniques and the strategies that people with disabilities use to live their lives. And then the third piece, which we often say is the most important, is to bring in a speaker with that disability who talks about his or her life experiences, and very importantly, answer students' questions. And the questions take all different forms. Very often you can group them in 2 categories. How are we the same and how are we different? And it's an amazing interaction that takes place.
The program has gotten picked up by neighboring school systems in the Boston area. People move and they carry it with them to far-flung places. So there are communities across the country that have become pockets of UOD training materials. And then a few people even moved internationally and took the program to some foreign countries. And I think that's now what UOD is trying to get a handle on, as a more organized and structured distribution plan, and a goal of really promulgating this more widely and being able to manage that using the internet and using digital materials. And that raised the problem of how do you protect those materials, which is how I got into it with the intellectual property protection. Now, as someone who has operated at the crossroads of technology and management throughout my career, it became apparent to me that while there was widespread need for UOD's programs, the labor-intensive parent-volunteer model that had been so successful in Newton for decades wasn't easily going to be replicated or scalable. UOD had already been using video materials, but it was clear that the next generation of UOD's programs should be digital and internet-based. As a result of UOD's work with the Harvard Business School's alumni volunteer program, UOD developed a strategic plan to develop what they called UOD 2.0, which was a complete set of their program units in digital form. And that was when my experience and their goals started to intersect. I introduced them to Gene Hammond, a friend and well-known Boston area entrepreneur and a startup mentor who had founded an incubator in Boston in the educational technology sector called Learn Launch. And we set up a meeting to match UOD's needs and their plans with appropriate technology resources. It was through that connection that UOD established a technology partnership that helped them, along with a lot of hard work by the UOD staff, to develop digital versions of UOD's units on the various disabilities. And that's how UOD 2.0 was born.
So, of course, the pandemic has had a substantial impact, but our director, Rebecca Lubins, and her amazing staff adapted our program to meet the moment by making it flexible, inclusive, and effective in the virtual environment.
When we used to talk to people about this concept, moving our program online, people would look very confused. I mean, the program that they knew was in person, it was very hands-on, and it was a little mystifying to think, how could one translate into the other? And now pretty much everybody has had a Zoom experience. and they get it. They know that education can be delivered using Zoom as a vehicle, and it can be delivered really successfully. So suddenly we've kind of taken this great leap forward in our ability to deliver the program in a way that I think it can be very scalable and accessible, location notwithstanding, really. And I think it provides us a tremendous opportunity for growth.
At the same time, ClassACT HR 73, through its Bridge Project program, was focused on helping worthy nonprofits make useful connections with Harvard Class of 73 alumni expertise. Marion Dry and ClassACT HR 73 suggested classmate Bill Strong 73, who practices intellectual property law in Boston, as a possible resource.
It's very important to protect the content that we've developed really over 40 plus years. And it's content, it's know-how, it's a very specific approach we have to teaching. And we felt it's so important to have that IP protection. We're in the process of finalizing wording for a licensing agreement. Bill also spoke about helping us filing our copy material with the U.S. Copyright Office, also trademarking our logo and our name. So I think we're kind of at the beginning of the road with him, and just really grateful to have made a connection with somebody who's so knowledgeable and has that expertise that we need so much.